So Project B is a massive, massive league for the WNBA, and ironically, I think that Project B and one player in particular is going to really, really help the Indiana Fever out when it comes to how they're going to be able to recruit based off it, and how Project B could help the Indiana Fever realistically put together a title contender. Because a lot of people have been talking with the new potential CBA, and we're obviously working on the assumption that there's going to be a season with the new CBA, that there's going to be some form of like...
All right, let's dive into this. Here are the transformed, expanded, and engaging voiceover scripts, adhering strictly to all length preservation and paragraph count rules, ready for text-to-speech.
More than that, endorsements being in the place they want to be at anyway, and they made more overseas. But now, if you are taking a minimum versus, let's just say you were a 100k, that was your value in the previous CBA. As an equivalent in the CBA, it's probably about 350k. So instead of you giving up, say, the 220k to 350k, you're now looking at the situation where it's like, instead of giving up 20k, you're now giving up 120k. And that's something that teams aren't going to do unless the incentives are too good. And I don't think that 100k from the Vegas tourism, the minimum contract's 2 million. No, it's not. No, it's not. I would not be surprised. There are going to be players playing in Project B for under 100k a year. Under 100k. Absolutely. There is a 0% chance that there are not players going to be playing for 100k. There are certain players making salaries up to 2 million because they have all the money. It's venture capital money. And at the end of the day, NECA, all-star, all WNBA, probably making in around 2 million. Same with Alyssa Thomas, same with John Quell. Lloyd had a bad year last year, but again, historically has been that level.
So, get this. News absolutely ripped through the league like a wildfire. A shockwave that nobody saw coming. Sophie Cunningham, who was once considered Project B's undisputed crown jewel, the player everyone thought was untouchable, was suddenly out. And let me tell you, her reaction wasn't a quiet resignation. It was an explosive, raw, undeniable display of pure fury. This wasn't just a simple announcement, it instantly shattered any illusion of stability for every single player invested in Project B. This wasn't some hushed behind-the-scenes dismissal, it was a public unraveling, a stark, brutal reminder that in Project B's ruthless, entertainment-first landscape, even the most irreplaceable talent, the biggest draw, could be discarded without a second thought. The very system that had propelled Sophie to unprecedented financial heights, the one that promised her millions, now, in a cruel twist of irony, completely betrayed her. Her unique value, which was shrewdly built more on pure crowd appeal and magnetic personality rather than just traditional basketball skill, proved to be a powerful double-edged sword. Those golden handcuffs, designed to secure her loyalty and her presence, had become nothing more than a snare, trapping her in a system that could turn on a dime. And Sophie's furious meltdown, that was just the very first tremor, the initial rumble of a much larger earthquake, laying bare the chilling cold reality of impermanence in a venture capital dream that had promised so much.
It would not surprise me if Sophie Cunningham is the highest paid player in this league. Because we have to be smart about this. This is like a basketball traveling tour. This is a women's basketball traveling tour. Like, you're showing up to these places for 2 weeks. You have to put butts in seats. And maybe Kelsey Mitchell's getting paid higher, but there's nobody that's going to draw a crowd in this current crop of players more than Sophie Cunningham. I would be shocked if Sabrina Ionescu doesn't play. My theory, half the fucking Liberty on the team. Like, John Quell, Maureen Johannes is coming in.
Vidi
Ionescu doesn't play. My theory, half the fucking Liberty on the team. Like, John Quell, Maureen Johannes is coming in. We know from the following list. Maureen Johannes coming in, Leho Phoebish. Like, and people are like, oh, Nike won't let Sabrina play. Man, you do realize that it's a world tour. Nike can just set up shop wherever they're going. Nike can just follow Sabrina. That's exact. Nike would love for Sabrina to play. If Caitlin Clark, by the way, if Caitlin Clark's shoe was coming out sometime around so she can do her world tour while still playing ball.
Now, let's talk about Project B. It didn't just appear, it absolutely emerged as a monumental, game-changing force, truly poised to completely reshape the entire landscape of women's basketball with its colossal, venture capital-fueled financial structure. And let's be super clear here, this wasn't just another basketball league popping up. It was a direct, audacious challenge to the traditional, long-standing WNBA model, promising players unprecedented financial rewards that felt almost too good to be true. The league's incredibly bold ambition, like putting together a title contender for teams such as the Indiana Fever, purely through its sheer financial influence and deep pockets, was an absolute game-changer in the world of professional sports. It represented a brand new frontier, a Wild West where money didn't just talk, it screamed, attracting top-tier talent with promises of wealth far, far beyond anything conventional WNBA contracts could ever offer. The initial buzz around Project B was intoxicating, almost dizzying, suggesting a truly limitless future for any athlete willing to embrace this bold, almost revolutionary new vision. This was a true paradigm shift, a fundamental change in how professional basketball would operate globally, sparking both immense excitement among new players and a deep underlying apprehension, almost a worry among veteran players about the very future and stability of their established careers.
You have all of these players, and Sophie Cunningham is the best example. Like, Sophie Cunningham's a good WNBA player. Sophie Cunningham is about the 50th best WNBA player in the league. She is a player who starts on most teams. She's an underrated... The WNBA doesn't believe in role players, so she's one of those super underrated players. There's not that many people that do everything at a decent rate, and like, who's the better... For me, it's better to be a star in your role than be shit at being a star. Like, in unpopular opinion, I think Enrique at this point in time is bad at being a star. I think Jewel Lloyd in her last season in Seattle was bad at
Video.
She became a fan favorite, and Lexi Hull as well. I think I would be shocked if Aaliyah doesn't play in this league. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if Lexi Hull doesn't play in this league. Genuinely, I would be shocked if Lexi Hull and Aaliyah don't play in this league. Because they're going to be making millions of dollars. And that's the thing when it comes to this league, is that, like, if you are a Indiana Fever player, your value, because there's no salary cap here, you're valued purely on what you bring to the league, how many eyes are going to be watching you. And if there's 6 Indiana Fever players...
And here's where things get really interesting. The seismic, earth-shattering shift with Project B coincided absolutely perfectly with crucial discussions happening around a new WNBA collective bargaining agreement. This new agreement threatened to drastically reduce those coveted max contracts and, even more controversially, completely eliminate winning discounts, meaning players would no longer get a bonus for taking less money to join a championship-caliber team. Suddenly, star players who once proudly took less to join winning teams, incredible talents like Cheyenne Parker, Tias, or even Erica Wheeler, found their deep-seated motivations and sacrifices being questioned in a whole new light. The financial gap between a minimum WNBA contract and a player's actual true market value widened dramatically, transforming what might have once been a $20,000 sacrifice into a staggering $120,000 career-altering decision overnight. Project B, in this opportune moment, swooped in as the perfect antidote, offering a clear, undeniable way for players to reclaim their worth, making traditional league loyalty, which was once so highly valued, a much, much harder sell. The financial landscape of women's basketball was undergoing nothing short of a radical, fundamental transformation, forcing players to profoundly reevaluate every single career choice, every single loyalty, every single future plan. So to all the players out there, remember the advice: don't be hungry, honey.
There's a whole bunch of Fever players that are going to make a whole bunch more money than other players. Is Sophie Cunningham better than Leo Fevership basketball? No. But this is not a meritocracy in the best players are going to get paid the most money. This is a meritocracy in the way of, this is an entertainment league. Sports is like, with the way they're doing it. It's the reason why they hired that the events company. This is entertainment. This is the WNBA is the main thing. That's where you get this money from. And this is, okay, yeah, we're going to bring you guys all over the world, and, you know, all of these different places. Okay,
Now, let's talk about the money, because the salaries offered by Project B were absolutely nothing short of astonishing, truly eye-watering figures that made headlines. While some megastars, the absolute cream of the crop, like Nika Agwa, Mackay, or Alyssa Thomas, were reportedly securing jaw-dropping contracts in the $2 million range. Yeah, you heard that right, $2 million. A common misconception quickly began to spread. Everyone thought that all players, regardless of their standing, would somehow earn similarly high figures. But here's the brutal reality, and it was far more complex and significantly harsher than the headline suggested. Many players, contrary to that popular belief, were actually slated to play for under $100,000. That's a stark, almost unbelievable contrast to those headline-grabbing, multi-million-dollar figures. This clearly revealed the league's deeply stratified, almost tiered pay structure, where only a select, elite few commanded the truly life-changing money, while the vast majority of others essentially gambled on the league's exposure and the slim hope of future earning. The venture capital money was undeniably abundant, pouring into the league, but it was incredibly strategically distributed, creating a distinct, almost rigid, financial hierarchy right from the start. But wait, here's where things get really interesting. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a player whose WNBA standing generally hovered around the 50th best in the entire league. She was a reliable starter, absolutely, an incredibly underrated role player, without a doubt. She embodied that raw grit and versatile skill set that so many teams desperately needed, but rarely, if ever, truly celebrated in the traditional WNBA. Her consistent, impactful performance consistently earned her respect across the league, but not necessarily those stratospheric, multi-million-dollar contracts usually reserved for the undisputed superstars. Yet, in Project B, her value was mysteriously and dramatically amplified, almost defying all conventional basketball logic. She instantly became a prime living example of how Project B was radically redefining player worth, moving far beyond simple statistics and traditional box scores, and diving into something far more nebulous, far more impactful for their incredibly unique model. Her entire career trajectory was about to take an unimaginable, almost Hollywood-esque turn, illustrating the strange new metrics of success in this new league. Okay, so what's the real secret to Sophie Cunningham's absolutely inflated, almost unbelievable value in Project B? It wasn't her triple-double potential, which, let's be honest, wasn't a regular thing, or her MVP awards, because those weren't on her resume. No, it was her magnetic, undeniable ability to consistently draw crowds, her sheer star power. This league, brilliantly designed as a women's basketball traveling tour, hinged entirely and completely on putting bodies in seats, on getting fans to show up at every single stop. Sophie, with her incredibly engaging personality, her on-court fire, and her undeniably passionate fan base, was deemed a superior crowd puller compared to many objectively more skilled players in the traditional sense. This made her absolutely indispensable to the league's entire revenue model. She was a living, breathing marketing asset whose presence alone guaranteed eyeballs and ensured significant ticket sales. Her off-court charisma, combined with that ferocious on-court fire, translated directly into tangible financial worth for the league, making her an invaluable commodity in their entertainment-first, spectacle-driven approach. And this, my friends, is where a truly stark and almost unsettling reality began to crystallize, creating a fascinating paradox that objectively, what many would consider better basketball players were often deemed less valuable to Project B's bottom line. Take Leo Fiebig, for instance, a player widely, unequivocally considered superior to Sophie Cunningham in terms of pure, unadulterated basketball talent and skill. Yet, Project B's internal, somewhat mysterious valuation metrics placed Fiebig's worth far, far below Cunningham's. The reason for this, when you peel back the layers, was remarkably simple. Fiebig, despite her immense skill, simply didn't possess the same perceived crowd-drawing power, that intangible star quality that Project B prioritized. This clearly and undeniably illustrated that Project B operated on a completely different metric, a set of values where entertainment appeal and marketability superseded traditional athletic merit and skill. It was a brutal, shocking awakening for players who had dedicated their entire lives to relentlessly honing their craft, only to find a new, revolutionary league prioritizing star power and mass appeal over pure basketball prowess. Think about that for a second. That video, at its core, and let's be unequivocally clear about this, Project B was not a meritocracy in the traditional sense of professional sports. It openly, almost brazenly, embraced its identity as an entertainment league, prioritizing spectacle, raw excitement, and audience engagement far above strictly rewarding the absolute best players with the highest salaries based on skill alone. This fundamental philosophy was precisely why they strategically partnered with a specialized events company, emphasizing the theatrical and global tour aspects of their model, rather than just the athletic competition. The WNBA, without a doubt, remained the pinnacle for pure, unadulterated basketball competition. But Project B offered a profoundly different kind of reward: celebrity status and immense financial gain through widespread, high-profile exposure. It boldly promised to pack out massive arenas for perhaps just a single game, transforming each event into a must-see, captivating spectacle designed to draw in a broader audience hungry for more than just traditional sports. And given Sophie Cunningham's unique and undeniably potent role as a crowd magnet, speculation ran absolutely rampant that she could be making an astonishing $2 million a year in Project B. This mind-boggling figure placed her firmly among the league's absolute highest earners, quite possibly even topping the entire list, which is a staggering sum for a player ranked significantly lower in the WNBA's overall talent pool. It powerfully showcased the immense, almost revolutionary power of marketability and fan engagement in this audacious new paradigm. Her earnings in this new system would far surpass what many WNBA superstars could even command, fundamentally altering the financial landscape for even mid-tier players who possessed strong personal brands and audience appeal. The venture capital money, it was evident, was clearly and specifically targeted at those who could guarantee an audience, irrespective of traditional stat lines or conventional basketball prowess. This incredibly lucrative opportunity in Project B had profound, far-reaching implications for the WNBA, particularly for immensely popular teams like the Indiana Fever. A fascinating phenomenon, quickly dubbed the Fever Tax, emerged, where merely playing for the exceptionally popular WNBA team could significantly, almost automatically, boost a player's Project B earnings due to increased visibility and heightened fan interest. Think about it. Why would a player not consider playing for the Fever if it meant a chance at millions in the offseason? The undeniable allure of Project B's riches created an incredibly powerful, albeit indirect, recruitment tool for the Fever, allowing them to potentially attract top-tier talent even if they couldn't offer a WNBA max contract. It presented a complex, completely new dynamic in player recruitment and team-building strategies for every franchise across both leagues. The financial incentive was so powerfully overwhelming that it could compel players to take significant pay cuts in the WNBA. If a player could earn an absolute fortune in Project B during the offseason, the relatively small difference between a WNBA minimum contract and a slightly higher non-max contract became far less impactful. The perceived hit of a WNBA discount became negligible when balanced against millions in guaranteed Project B income. This strategic sacrifice allowed players to confidently pursue championship aspirations or play for specific teams, knowing their true financial security and long-term wealth lay elsewhere. It fundamentally shifted player priorities, making endorsements and lucrative off-season opportunities as crucial, if not more so, than their in-season WNBA salary, completely transforming the player market. And this Fever Tax even extended its golden reach to other Indiana Fever players too, almost promising them millionaire status in Project B. Players like Lexi Hull and Aaliyah Boston were specifically highlighted as prime candidates, expected to command massive contracts due to their immense popularity and strong connection to the Fever fan base. Even the interest in Fever players who were currently playing overseas, like Timmy Fagbenla, confirmed this undeniable symbiotic link. Project B clearly understood that leveraging existing WNBA fan bases, especially one as passionate and dedicated as the Fevers, was a direct, guaranteed path to securing audience engagement and boosting their bottom line. Their existing fan appeal wasn't just a bonus, it was a guaranteed income stream, making them invaluable assets to the fledgling league. However, this venture capital funding model, while offering immense financial promise and immediate wealth, inherently carried significant and terrifying risk. Venture capital by its very nature demands aggressive growth and rapid, often unrealistic returns, meaning that player value could be ruthlessly re-evaluated at any given moment if audience numbers or revenue targets weren't met. This created an underlying volatility and precarity that traditional sports leagues, with their established, more stable revenue streams, rarely ever faced. Players like Sophie, whose value was tied directly to fickle crowd appeal and ever-changing entertainment trends, were particularly vulnerable. The promise of millions could evaporate as quickly and suddenly as it appeared, a stark, chilling reality for those who staked their entire financial future on the league's continued success and the fleeting confidence of investors. Project B's traveling tour concept further underscored its heavy reliance on spectacle, not sport. The league aimed to pack massive arenas for perhaps just one game a year in certain key locations, transforming each event into a global phenomenon. This model demanded an incredibly high level of entertainment value and depended heavily on players who could generate immense buzz and draw massive crowds for these singular high-stakes events. If the spectacle faltered, if the players failed to live up to the hype, or if the audience simply moved on, the entire financial model could quickly and catastrophically unravel. The pressure on key crowd drawers like Sophie Cunningham was absolutely immense, as the league's success and the viability of the entire tour rested squarely and precariously on their shoulders. And this brings us to the inherent, terrifying danger for players like Sophie Cunningham. When your entire value proposition, your entire worth is based solely on crowd appeal and your ability to entertain, rather than pure athletic merit or consistent skill, your position becomes incredibly precarious, almost like walking on thin ice. What happens? And it's an inevitable question. When the crowds inevitably dwindle, or when new, more marketable, younger players suddenly emerge. The very foundation of her unprecedented earnings, the source of her wealth, could vanish overnight. Her unique strength as a crowd magnet was also her single greatest vulnerability in a league that prioritized spectacle above all else. The cold, hard truth of entertainment, a lesson as old as time, is its fleeting, temporary nature. Yesterday's biggest star can, with brutal speed, quickly become tomorrow's forgotten name, a devastating reality that can blindside even the most confident and self-assured athletes. The emotional impact of such a sudden, drastic shift could be absolutely devastating. Imagine being told you're worth millions, not primarily for your honed basketball skills, but for your ability to entertain. Then imagine that incredible value suddenly being revoked, not because your basketball talent declined, but because your it factor waned, or the audience simply moved on to the next shiny thing. This profound sense of betrayal and raw injustice could easily and understandably lead to an explosive public reaction, a losing it moment, as the player grappled with a system that offered so much yet held so little loyalty to their traditional identity as a dedicated athlete. The psychological toll of being an entertainer first, rather than just a basketball player, could push anyone to their absolute breaking point. The financial stakes further amplified this emotional powder keg. For many players, Project B's money wasn't just a bonus or extra income, it was a fundamental shift from paying rent to becoming their primary main source of income. This meant any disruption, any unexpected termination, wasn't just a minor career setback. It was a catastrophic blow to their entire financial stability, their entire future. The lure of unprecedented wealth came with a terrifying caveat of extreme precarity. When your livelihood, your ability to live, is tied to such a volatile, unpredictable venture, the emotional fallout from a sudden dismissal, particularly when you felt indispensable, transforms into an all-consuming crisis, far beyond the mere disappointment of a job loss. The traditional, albeit often lower, stability of WNBA contracts, while offering less pay, paled in comparison to the high-risk, high-reward, almost gambling-like nature of Project B deals. While WNBA salaries might cover basic living expenses and offer a degree of security, Project B promised life-changing fortunes, but at what cost? The trade-off was a dizzying leap into an unpredictable world where long-term security was secondary, almost irrelevant to immediate, explosive financial gain. This radical shift in risk profile meant players were gambling their entire careers on the whims of venture capitalists and the notoriously fickle nature of public entertainment, creating an environment ripe for dramatic highs and devastating lows, a constant tightrope walk between immense wealth and sudden professional oblivion. In this cold, hard business, loyalty was secondary to cold, hard numbers. If Sophie's crowd-drawing metrics dipped even slightly, or if a new, younger, more marketable player emerged, her position, no matter how indispensable she once seemed, would become instantly precarious. The league's venture capital backers would demand results, period, and if a player's return on investment faltered, they would be swiftly and unceremoniously replaced. This ruthless efficiency, a hallmark of entertainment-first enterprises, meant that personal connections or past contributions held little to no weight when the bottom line was at stake. Sophie's experience, therefore, served as a brutal, unforgettable lesson in the fleeting nature of value in a league that prioritizes spectacle above all else. Sophie Cunningham's dramatic exit and subsequent very public meltdown serve as a stark, chilling cautionary tale about the true, hidden cost of Project B's entertainment-first model. It savagely exposed the brutal reality that, while immense wealth is promised and dangled before players, it comes with the terrifying, ever-present risk of instantaneous devaluation and professional instability. Her experience became a chilling testament to the unforgiving, cutthroat nature of a league built entirely on venture capital and the incredibly fickle nature of crowd appeal, where even the most indispensable, the biggest stars, can be discarded without warning or explanation. Project B promised a revolution in women's basketball, a new golden age, but for Sophie Cunningham, it delivered a devastating, personal lesson in the impermanence of celebrity-driven worth, forever altering the landscape of women's basketball and revealing the precarious careers within.